there is one thing that I love in games in general, is the usage of bows. Unfortunately, usually bows are not really that effective on Souls-likes. It's probably because of how the games work, probably because usually, well, it has to be said, using a bow, having a distance, it's difficult to manage and to actually balance with the rest of the weapons, because it's just too easy using a bow. However, in Souls-likes, I believe that since the games are being like more refined and developers learn more about Souls-like combat system and things like that, things are getting better and better. So in today's video, we're going to be making a build, a full bow build in Lysope. And yes, I do have to say that to some extent trivialize some areas of the game because it's just too powerful, especially I'm referring to wild exploration. As you can see right here, you can just quite literally shoot everything that you have in front of you. However, in boss fights, that's when the game actually becomes a little bit more difficult, because boss fights are to some extent, in some areas, not every single one of them, but bosses are designed in this game to be aggressive and to be on your face, and they have like jump animations that are always in your face, and you have to consider with the bow that the actual wind-up of animation for attacking very, very long. So it's not that much of an issue when you're fighting small enemies, because at the end of the day you're going to kill them with distance. But in here, like when you're fighting bosses, you do have to manage a couple more things. However, they did manage also to balance that out because of how this that you're seeing right in here. So that we're going to talk about the moveset of the weapon in a little while. But essentially, there's a couple of attacks that allow you to play like the Legolas playstyle, where you can backflip and attack. But then again, like that's also something that needs to be managed, because this does not give you iframes. It gives you dodging by movement. Yeah, anyways, first and foremost, let me actually show you where are we going to get the weapon. And yes, this is of course a weapon from DLC. You're going to go to the Hall of Adventure right in here. So as you can see, you get this very early on the DLC. So we're going to run all the way here, and it's actually not going to be that far away from this place that we are right now. We're going to go to this place, and then there's going to be like the entrance here towards the left. Here's where we're going to be taking the left, and then we're going to continue all throughout this hall that is going to be filled with enemies. There's also going to be one major enemy that you're going to encounter soon in here. You have to be very careful about this. I'm of course doing a run past in here, but you'd have to be careful right in here, because there's going to be that one guy, and then there's also going to be one behind that one, so you do have to be very careful about that one. And then there's going to be a mini boss right in here that you are going to have to fight as well, so that's something that you need to consider. But we're also almost right at the location where we can find the bow. Right in here, you're going to turn into the right. There's going to be a couple of enemies more right in here. Let me just show you real fast how easy it is to use the bow right in here with this enemy. You have like the flurry of attacks that you can use right in here. The one thing that you need to consider about the bow as well is that it doesn't have that much stance damage, and by stance damage I mean like it does not stagger the enemies that much. So there's the bow. This is the chest that is going to contain the bow. So now that we have the actual weapon in our hands, let's actually talk about it and what is it that we can do to actually improve on the weapon. This is a dexterity weapon, or aka a technique weapon. It's going to have a scaling or a B scaling on technique. The one thing that you can do to improve this weapon, since it doesn't have a motivity or advanced scaling, naturally you're going to take advantage the best of this weapon by including a technique handle. So to do that, you need of course a technique handle, and then you place alter handle option right in here, and you will you will see that I cannot do such a thing anymore because mine already has a technique handle right in here. But you will see that if we actually reset, it's going to have a D on motivity and B on technique. If we give this thing the technique handle, it's going to increase our scaling for our weapon to A, and since this is going to be a dexterity weapon build, then might as well get the extra damage from that technique crank right there. So there's a couple of things that you need to have in mind when it comes to the weapon moveset and what is it that is going to do for you. First and foremost, you have the basic regular attacks that is going to do a regular flurry of a combo that you see right in there, and that's going to leave you, it's going to waste lots of stamina, but it's also going to leave you open for quite a while. So if you actually take the time to do these shots separately, you can actually control a little bit more of what you're doing, and you can do this. So that's another thing about the playstyle of the weapon. What you saw me doing right there, it's the dodging attack that is going to actually give you mobility to avoid damage. So for example, we have an attack right in here, and then we avoid, and then we can continue to do so long as we have stamina, and that is amazing to fight very movable enemies. So you shoot, and then you dodge, and then you will see that when you deal damage like this, your character is actually P is actually going to backward a little bit more. That's what I was telling you about. So the first attack, and then dodge, and then attack again. I want to describe that to you a little bit, because this is attack, this is dodge, that has iframes. So there's iframes to that, because that's a regular dodge. So we dodge, iframes, attack, and you will see that I back off a little bit more. That little bit back off, it doesn't have iframes, but it's going to allow you to get some distance between you and the enemy, and have a little bit more of mobility. However, have in mind, this is a bummer, something that I didn't like. It, depending on the direction that you actually do that, is not going to change. You're always going to backflip regardless of you dodging to whichever location. So ideally, what you're going to be doing while fighting something that is very movable is going to be something like this, and then backing up, and then continue your attack. The heavy attack is actually very useful, because if you do a single heavy attack, it's going to be 2 fast arrows right in there. This cannot be followed up with dodge, so this is going to pin you in that location. But it's very useful if you really want to do fast damage right in there. If you charge, the heavy attack is going to take quite a while, but it's going to deal lots of damage. If you feel that the enemy is closing to you, as soon as you're charging the attack, you can still release it, and it's still going to be 2 arrows, but ideally this is what is going to be dealing the most damage. Now when it comes to the Fable odds, it actually has 4, not 2, 4 Fable arts. If you press Y, it's going to be that one single attack, and it's going to use 2 Fable slots. If you hold it, you're going to be placed in the air, you're going to stay longer right in there, and you're going to be dealing more damage. So this is also something that you can use to get some distance with the enemy. Remember that you do not have iframes while you're using this, but you do have hyper armor. Hyper armor that can still be interrupted if the enemy deals enough damage to you. And then we have the LB and then Y. If you press it just once, that's going to be the damage that you're going to be dealing, 1,753 damage. But if we hold it, and this is the one that I like to use the most, because this is like the sniper playstyle. If you use this as an opener with a very strong enemy, or if you feel that you have enough distance against a boss and you charge it, take a look at how much damage you're going to be dealing with this thing. You see, 4,294 damage. That's just crazy nuts damage that it's also going to be dealing lots and lots of posture and stance damage. So for the stats, this is naturally a level 99 character. Remember that this is a character that we have once we have reached the chapter 9 on the base game. So your character for a bow build should naturally be a endgame character, because you are going to be required to enter into high level areas where you're going to be killing things that are going to give you lots and lots and lots of experience. This being a technique character, a character that scales out of dexterity or technique. The first goal will be to increase our technique to level 40, and then here's where you can make a concession, because I have 40 vitality and 21 vigor. The capacity is just more than enough for us. As you can see, I am slightly heavy right there. I'm pairing that up with the katana. So yeah, this is also a dexterity weapon. I just wanted to have that because it's nice to have the option, but by all means you can use this card, the katana, and completely use right here your bow. And even then I'm still going to be slightly heavy because I'm using the carrier's amulet that increases your weight capacity because of the actual heavy stuff that we're using for armor. You should always have the heaviest things possible so that you can withstand as much damage as possible. So as you can see, the more the heavier things that I'm using right in here, as I increase my weight, I'm going to have more defense, sure, but as you were able to see, I was discarding like the less protective stuff if I wanted to have the sword right in here. But like I said, you can just by all means use the regular bow in here and equip everything that is going to give you as much defense as possible. And trust me, believe you me, you are going to need that defense on DLC. So like I was saying, you can exchange that vitality for vigor and have it on 30-30, and that's actually going to be ideal because this is a weapon that requires lots of vigor and it requires for lots of mobility. You have to be moving quite a lot, and whenever you lose your vigor, that's when you're going to be vulnerable to enemy attacks because you cannot move that much and you won't be moving. So the ideal thing is if you're playing a New Game Plus or you're leveling up this character a little bit more, ideally capacity on 20 should be more than enough for you to use the most powerful defense items that you have on the game, and then the overall goal should be vitality and vigor and 40, and then once you reach the New Game Plus, then capacity on 40 as well, and work on all of that kind of stuff as you level up. Because remember that on New Game Plus you get new defensive items, but they are also heavier, so that's something to have in mind as well. We also have a new Legion arm, and I cannot stress enough how amazing this new Legion arm works with this weapon and with this build. Because this is a Legion arm that is going to scale. You can use this Legion arm with either motivity or technique, but still you have technique scaling right in here, so you have a P scaling and technique. And ideally this is something that we're going to be using alongside with the bow. So this is a Legion arm that shoots those blades right in there, and you can shoot up to 4 of these guys right in here, and you will see that they deal lots and lots and lots of and massive amounts of damage. You will also see that if we actually charge it, we can throw like 2 at the same time, and then they're going to deal amazing damage as well. But you have 4. Once you have maxed out the Legion arm, if you charge it and then you press Y, it's going to actually release the 4 things right in here, and this is actually amazing because it's going to give you defense. A very powerful combo would be something like this, combining your Legion, that's going to consume Fable odds, but if you have enough, like for example, you can be doing something like this, and then while you're being protected, you can just shoot something like this and you're still protected because of the blades. Or you can just, if you're not using like the Fable arts, you can just regularly use one of these guys, and then while you're using it, you use regular attacks, and then you repeat and so on and so forth, and you're still going to be dealing lots of damage, but also lots of posture damage. I can't stress enough how amazing the playstyle is with this weapon, and especially if you combine it with this Legion arm. Remember that you should always be taking advantage of every single little asset that you have on these types of games. I think that this is by far right now the best combination and the most fun combination that I have out of all of the builds and characters that I have tried in the Legion arms and combinations and things. I never really thought of, I always like, let me rephrase that. I always thought that Legion arms were something fun, but I never thought that they were something like completely useful or something that should be inherently a part of a build. It was just something extra right in that, but I like to take advantage more on my weapons on itself. This is an inherent part of the builds, and it's going to cause for you to deal tremendous and lots of damage, and it's just a perfect synergy. Anyways, if you like content, you like it, never super appreciate it. Nostal you the gorgeous and beautiful person. You're in the gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, have a beautiful day, goodbye.